Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. I always thought the end of a marriage would be loud, shouting matches, broken dishes, the slam of a door. But when it started with Stephanie and me, it was quiet, almost undetectable, like the slow ebb of a tide. It was on a Tuesday evening that I first noticed something was off. She came home late again, her face illuminated by the screen of her phone, a faint smile playing at her lips. The smile faded the moment she saw me, as if I were an intruder in her private world. "Late meeting?" I asked casually, though my pulse quickened. "Yeah, sorry. It ran over," she replied, her tone cool, distracted. She didn't bother to elaborate or apologize further, just slipped off her heels and headed upstairs without so much as a kiss. I stood in the hallway, staring after her, trying to shake the feeling of unease that had settled in my chest. Maybe it was nothing, maybe it was just work stress. But the distance between us had been growing, and this wasn't the first time she'd come home late without explanation. Something was wrong, and I was no longer content to just brush it aside. The next morning, Stephanie was back to her usual self, or at least the self she'd become over the last few months. Polite, reserved, and meticulously put together. The only thing that remained of the woman I married was the faint scent of her perfume, a scent that had once filled me with warmth and now seemed to mock me with its familiarity. "Do you have plans this weekend?" she asked over breakfast, her eyes not meeting mine as she stirred her coffee. "Nothing in particular," I replied, watching her closely. "Why?" "I'm going to take a trip with the girls. A little getaway to clear my head. You know, work's been stressful." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I nodded, feeling a pang of suspicion. "Where are you going?" "Just to the coast. Sandy shores. We'll be at the Coral Bay Resort. It'll be nice to unwind." The name rang a bell, but it was the way she said it, so rehearsed, so detached, that set off alarm bells in my mind. I forced a smile, hiding the tension that coiled in my gut. "That sounds nice. You deserve it." "Thanks, Ben." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand, but her touch was cold, mechanical. As soon as she left for work, I made a decision. If there was something going on, I needed to know. The doubt, the uncertainty, it was eating me alive. I wasn't going to sit back and let it destroy me. I called in a favor from a friend who worked in security. By the end of the day, I had access to a booking at the Coral Bay Resort under a different name, just one day after Stephanie's planned arrival. I told myself it was just to clear my mind, to put the nagging doubts to rest. But deep down, I knew I was preparing for the worst. The next few days were a blur. Stephanie packed her bags, kissed me on the cheek, and left without a backward glance. As soon as she was gone, I packed my own bag and made the drive to Sandy Shores. The Coral Bay Resort was a picture of tranquility. Palm trees swayed gently in the breeze, the sound of the waves a constant, calming presence. It was the perfect place for a romantic getaway, or, in this case, a place to hide. I checked into my room and waited. The first night was restless, sleep eluded me as thoughts of Stephanie twisted through my mind like a poisonous vine. Was I overreacting? Was this all in my head? But every time I tried to convince myself otherwise, I remembered the way she had been lately, distant, secretive, a shadow of the woman I once knew. The next morning, I wandered the resort, keeping to the edges, my eyes constantly scanning for her. It wasn't until the late afternoon that I saw her, sitting in the hotel restaurant. My heart hammered in my chest as I spotted her at a corner booth, her back to me. She wasn't alone. A man sat beside her, too close for comfort, his arm casually draped across the back of the sofa. My breath caught in my throat as I watched him lean in, his hand disappearing beneath the table. Stephanie's face was turned toward him, her expression one of quiet anticipation. Then I saw it, the subtle movement of her body, the slight shift in her posture, and the way her eyes fluttered closed, just for a moment. I felt a cold wave crash over me, freezing me in place. My mind screamed for me to look away, to leave before I saw more than I could handle. But my legs moved on their own, carrying me closer until I stood just a few feet away, hidden behind a column. The man's hand was under the table, but it didn't take a genius to figure out what he was doing. Stephanie's breathing hitched, and she bit her lip, trying to suppress the pleasure that was written all over her face. Right there, in public, with strangers milling about, she was lost in the moment, completely oblivious to everything around her, including me. It felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me, leaving me suspended in a void. I wanted to scream, to tear the man away from her, to demand an explanation from the woman I had devoted my life to. But instead, I turned and walked away, my heart pounding in my ears, my vision blurred by a red haze. I stumbled back to my room, slammed the door behind me, and let out a guttural scream that echoed off the walls. Rage, hurt, betrayal, they all warred within me, tearing me apart from the inside out. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe. All I knew was that I had to do something. I wasn't just going to stand by and let them get away with this. As I paced the room, an idea began to take shape in my mind. If Stephanie could betray me like this, so blatantly and without remorse, then I would make sure she paid for it. Both of them would. I sat down on the edge of the bed, my hands trembling as I opened my laptop. The first thing I did was file for divorce. It was impulsive, maybe even reckless, but I knew there was no coming back from what I had seen. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of trying to explain herself. Next, I made a few phone calls. I had connections, people who owed me favors. By the time I hung up, a plan was in motion. It was a plan that would ruin them both, leave their lives in tatters, just like they had done to mine. As I sat there in the dim light of the hotel room, I felt a strange calm settle over me. The rage was still there, burning in the pit of my stomach, but now it had a direction, a purpose. I was going to make them regret ever crossing me. And once it was over, I would walk away, leaving the ashes of our broken lives behind. The morning sun filters through the thin curtains of my hotel room, casting long shadows across the floor. I sit on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone, my thumb hovering over the contact list. I'm about to call a man I haven't spoken to in years, someone from a past life, a part of me I've kept buried for a long time. But today, I'm digging it up. His name is Marco, a man with a reputation for solving problems, the kind of problems you don't take to the police. We used to run in the same circles back when I thought I was invincible, before I met Stephanie, before I thought I could live a normal life. I haven't needed his help since I got married, but today, I need him more than ever. I press the call button, the ringing echoing in my ears. My heart pounds as I wait, each ring dragging me further into the abyss I've chosen to step into. Ben. Marco's voice is as smooth as I remember, with a hint of surprise. It's been a long time, my friend. What can I do for you? I need a favor, I say, my voice steady, but the anger simmers just below the surface. It's about Stephanie. Marco breathes, a knowing tone in his voice. The wife. What's happened? She's cheating on me, I say bluntly, the words tasting like poison. I need you to find out everything about the man she's with. I want to know who he is, what he does, where he lives. I want every detail. There's a pause on the other end, and I can almost hear Marco weighing the situation. That's a dangerous road you're walking, Ben. Are you sure you want to go down it? I close my eyes, picturing Stephanie's face as she sat with that man in the restaurant, the way her eyes fluttered closed as he touched her. I'm sure, I reply, my voice cold. I'm going to destroy them both. Marco chuckles softly, a sound that sends a shiver down my spine. All right, my friend. I'll take care of it. I'll need a day or two, but I'll get you what you need. You know how to reach me. The line goes dead, and I lower the phone, my hands shaking. It's done. The wheels are in motion, and there's no turning back now. Later that day, I decide to get out of the hotel room. The walls feel like they're closing in on me, suffocating me with the weight of what I've set into motion. I head to the resort's pool area, hoping the fresh air will clear my head. The pool is busy, families splashing in the water, couples lounging on deck chairs. I spot an empty chair near the edge and sit down, trying to lose myself in the noise and chatter around me. But I can't stop thinking about Stephanie, about that man's hand in her pants, about what they might be doing right now. Hey, mind if I join you? I look up, startled out of my thoughts. A woman stands next to my chair, her dark hair tied back in a loose ponytail, sunglasses perched on her head. She's smiling, but there's something in her eyes that tells me she's more observant than she lets on. Sure, I say, gesturing to the chair beside me. It's a free country. Thanks, she says, sitting down and stretching out her legs. You look like you could use some company. Bad day? I chuckle, a bitter sound. Something like that. I'm Lila, she says, extending her hand. Here for a bit of R&R. Ben, I reply, shaking her hand. Her grip is firm, confident. Same here. We sit in silence for a few minutes, watching the activity around the pool. I can feel her eyes on me, studying me, but I don't mind. It's a welcome distraction from the storm brewing inside me. You don't seem like the R&R type, Lila says after a while, her tone light but probing. More like you're running from something. I turn to look at her, surprised by her insight. What makes you say that? She shrugs, a sly smile on her lips. I'm a good judge of character. You've got that look, like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. I stare at her for a moment, wondering how much to reveal. But something about her makes me want to talk, to unload at least a part of the burden I'm carrying. My wife is here, I say, the words slipping out before I can stop them. She doesn't know I am. Lila raises an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. That sounds complicated. Complicated doesn't even begin to cover it, I mutter, running a hand through my hair. She's cheating on me. I found out yesterday. Lila's expression softens, and she leans in closer. I'm sorry. That's rough. What are you going to do? I hesitate, the anger rising again. I'm going to make sure she regrets it. I've already started putting things in motion. Lila's eyes darken, and she nods slowly. Revenge. It's a dangerous game, Ben. Are you sure that's the road you want to take? I think about her question, about the fire that's been burning in my chest since I saw Stephanie with that man. I know it's dangerous, but at this point, I don't care. I want them to suffer as I'm suffering. I'm sure, I say, my voice firm. I can't let them get away with it. Lila studies me for a long moment, then sighs. All right, then. Just be careful. Revenge has a way of consuming you if you're not careful. Her words linger in my mind long after she leaves, a warning that I know I should heed, but I'm too deep into this now. I can't back out. Not after everything. The next day, Marco calls. His voice is low, businesslike, as he gives me the details. The man's name is Derek Collins, a finance executive from Chicago. Married, 2 kids, and a string of affairs that could fill a book. He's in town for a business trip, but it's clear he's mixing business with pleasure. Marco goes on, telling me about Derek's daily routine, his habits, and most importantly, where he's staying. He's in the same resort, just a few rooms down from Stephanie's. He's a piece of work, Marco says, a hint of disgust in his voice. But I've got something that might interest you. Seems like Derek has some enemies. There's a deal going down tomorrow night, something off the books, if you know what I mean. If you're looking to ruin him, this might be your chance. My mind races as Marco lays out the details. Derek is meeting with some unsavory characters in a secluded part of the resort. It's the kind of deal that could get him in serious trouble if it were exposed. Are you in? Marco asks, his tone challenging. I take a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. This is it, the opportunity I've been waiting for. The chance to strike back, to take control of a situation that has spiraled out of control. I'm in, I say, my voice steady. I'll be there. As I hang up the phone, a sense of grim determination settles over me. Tomorrow night, I'm going to confront Derek Collins. And when it's over, Stephanie will know exactly what kind of man she's been betraying me with. The storm is coming, and there's no stopping it now. The night sky is a deep shade of indigo, the stars hidden behind a thick blanket of clouds. The air is heavy with the scent of salt and jasmine, a sharp contrast to the tension coiled in my chest. I stand in the shadows near the back entrance of the resort, my eyes locked on the path that leads to the private beach. It's secluded, far from the prying eyes of tourists, a perfect spot for a clandestine meeting. Marco's words echo in my mind as I wait. Be careful, Ben. These aren't the kind of people who play nice. He had offered to come along, to back me up, but I refused. This is my fight. I need to face Derek Collins on my own terms, to look him in the eye and make him understand the depth of his mistake. I feel the cool metal of the voice recorder in my pocket, the one I'll use to capture every word of Derek's illegal dealings. If this goes according to plan, I'll have enough to destroy him, personally, professionally, and, if I'm lucky, physically. But I need to keep my head clear, to stay focused. The path is dark, lit only by the faint glow of distant lights from the resort. I move silently, keeping to the shadows as I make my way toward the beach. The sound of the waves grows louder, drowning out the pounding of my heart. I'm almost there when I see them, two figures silhouetted against the night, standing by a small cluster of palm trees. Derek is one of them. I recognize him from the photo Marco sent me, tall, broad-shouldered, with the confident stance of a man who thinks he's untouchable. The other man is shorter, stockier, his posture tense and wary. I can't make out his features, but I don't need to. I know what kind of man he is. I crouch behind a dune, close enough to hear their voices but far enough to remain unseen. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore masks the rustle of my movements, and I slowly pull out the voice recorder, my finger hovering over the record button. This better be worth my time, Derek says, his voice low and impatient. I didn't fly all the way out here to play games. The shorter man chuckles, a rough, humorless sound. Relax, Collins. You'll get what you paid for. But you need to remember who you're dealing with. This isn't the stock market, we don't take kindly to double-crossers. Derek's expression hardens, but he doesn't back down. I know what's at stake. I just want to make sure we're clear. You get your money, I get the information, and we both walk away. No complications. The shorter man nods, reaching into his jacket and pulling out a small, black USB drive. He holds it up, letting it catch the faint light. This is what you're after. Everything you need to take down your competition. But it's going to cost you extra. The information was harder to get than I thought. Derek's eyes narrow, and for a moment, I wonder if he's going to lose his temper. But he surprises me by laughing, a sharp, bitter sound. You're a real piece of work, you know that. Fine. How much? The shorter man names a figure, and Derek doesn't even flinch. He pulls out his phone, taps a few buttons, and then slides it back into his pocket. Done. The money's in your account. Now, give me the drive. The man hesitates, then tosses the USB drive to Derek, who catches it with a satisfied smirk. "Pleasure doing business with you," the shorter man says, turning to leave. But Derek isn't finished. "One more thing," Derek calls out, and the man pauses, turning back. "If I find out you've sold this information to anyone else, I'll make sure you regret it. Understand?" The man's eyes flash with anger, but he simply nods and walks away, disappearing into the night. Derek watches him go, then turns his attention to the USB drive in his hand. For a moment, he looks like he's about to walk back to the resort, but then he does something unexpected. He tosses the drive into the sand and crushes it under his heel. I stifle a gasp, my heart racing as I realize what he's doing. He's covering his tracks, making sure there's no evidence left behind. But that's not what shocks me the most. It's the look on his face, the cold, calculated expression of a man who's done this before, who knows exactly how to get what he wants and leave no loose ends. I feel a surge of anger, the kind that blurs the lines between right and wrong. This man, this monster, has been sleeping with my wife, betraying his own family, and now he's destroying the lives of others without a second thought. I can't let him walk away from this unscathed. I wait until Derek turns to leave, then I step out from behind the dune, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. "Going somewhere, Derek?" He freezes, his head snapping up as he searches the darkness for the source of the voice. When he sees me, his eyes widen in surprise, then narrow with recognition. "Who the hell are you?" I step closer, keeping my hands at my sides, my body tense and ready for whatever comes next. "I'm the man who's going to make you pay for what you've done." Derek's lips curl into a sneer. "Is that so? You think you can just walk up to me and make threats? Do you even know who I am?" "I know exactly who you are," I say, my voice low and dangerous. "You're a coward. A man who hides behind his money and his lies. You think you can take what you want without consequences, but you're wrong. I'm here to make sure of that." Derek laughs, a harsh, mocking sound. "You must be Ben. Stephanie's told me about you. She said you were weak, pathetic. I guess she was right." The mention of Stephanie's name sends a fresh wave of rage through me, but I force myself to stay calm. I can't afford to lose control now, not when I'm so close. "You don't know anything about me," I say, my voice steady. "But you're about to find out." Before Derek can react, I lunge at him, tackling him to the ground. The impact knocks the wind out of him, and for a moment, he's too stunned to fight back. But then he recovers, swinging his fists wildly as he tries to push me off. We grapple in the sand, our movements frantic and uncoordinated. I manage to land a few solid punches, but Derek is stronger than he looks, and he gets in a few hits of his own. Pain explodes in my ribs as his fist connects, but I grit my teeth and keep going, driven by the fury that's been building inside me for days. Finally, I manage to pin him down, my knee pressing into his chest as I lean over him, panting. "You don't get to walk away from this," I hiss, my face inches from his. "You're going to pay for every lie, every betrayal." Derek glares up at me, his eyes filled with hatred. "You're making a mistake, Ben. You don't know what you're getting yourself into." "Maybe not," I admit, my voice cold. "But I know this much, you're going to regret ever touching my wife." Without giving him a chance to respond, I pull the voice recorder from my pocket and press it against his chest. "Say something," I demand. "Admit what you've done. All of it." He struggles beneath me, trying to twist away, but I press down harder, forcing the air from his lungs. "You're insane," he gasps. "This isn't going to change anything. Stephanie's with me because she wants to be. You're just a pawn in her game." His words cut deep, but I don't let them show. I press the recorder harder against his chest. "Confess," I growl. "Or I'll make sure you never leave this beach." For a moment, it seems like he might refuse, but then he lets out a low, defeated sigh. Fine, he mutters. You want a confession? I've been sleeping with your wife. I've been making deals behind closed doors, screwing people over to get ahead. Happy now? I click off the recorder, my hand trembling as I pull it away. The satisfaction I expected doesn't come. Instead, there's just a hollow emptiness, a sinking feeling that this isn't over, not by a long shot. I get off Derek, letting him scramble to his feet. He stands there for a moment, staring at me with a mixture of anger and contempt. You've made a big mistake tonight, Ben, he says, his voice low and menacing. You're going to regret this. I already do, I admit, my voice hoarse. But that doesn't change what's coming for you. With that, I turn and walk away, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. The night is quiet now, the only sound the distant crash of the waves against the shore. But inside, my mind is a storm, churning with thoughts of what comes next. As I make my way back to the resort, I realize something: this isn't just about Derek anymore. It's about Stephanie, about the life we built together, and the lies that have torn it apart. This battle isn't over, not by a long shot. And I'm prepared to fight to the bitter end. The sun rises slowly over sandy shores, painting the horizon with hues of pink and gold. The beauty of the morning is lost on me as I stand on the balcony of my hotel room, staring blankly at the ocean. My mind is miles away, consumed by the events of the previous night. I can still feel the weight of Derek's body under mine, the harshness of his words lingering like a bitter aftertaste. You're just a pawn in her game. The sentence plays on repeat in my head, gnawing at me. There's something more to this, something I'm not seeing. As much as I want to believe that everything is straightforward, Stephanie cheated, and I'm getting my revenge, there's a nagging feeling that the story isn't as simple as it seems. I barely slept, my mind racing with possibilities, and now, in the light of day, I'm more determined than ever to get to the bottom of it. I grab the voice recorder from the table, slipping it into my pocket. The confession I forced out of Derek is proof, but it doesn't feel like enough. There's still a piece of the puzzle missing, and I'm going to find it. I leave my room and head straight to Stephanie's. My pulse quickens as I walk down the hallway, each step bringing me closer to the confrontation I've been avoiding. I have no idea what I'm going to say when I see her, but I know I can't let this drag on any longer. When I reach her door, I hesitate, my hand hovering over the handle. What if she denies everything? What if she's already gone? I take a deep breath, steeling myself, and knock. There's a long pause, and I wonder if she's ignoring me. But then I hear footsteps, and the door swings open. Stephanie stands there, dressed in a simple white robe, her hair tousled as if she's just woken up. For a moment, she looks like the woman I fell in love with, soft, warm, and familiar. But the illusion shatters as soon as she speaks. Ben, she says, her voice laced with surprise and a hint of annoyance. What are you doing here? I think you know, I reply, my tone colder than I intended. We need to talk. She sighs, stepping aside to let me in. I suppose we do. But this isn't the time or place. It's the perfect time, I say, walking past her into the room. And we're way past the point of worrying about places. Stephanie closes the door behind me and turns to face me, her arms crossed defensively. All right, Ben. What's this about? Why are you here? I pull the voice recorder from my pocket and hold it up. This, I say, clicking the play button. Derek's voice fills the room, his confession spilling out in harsh, clipped tones. I watch Stephanie's face as she listens, her expression shifting from confusion to anger. When the recording ends, there's a heavy silence. Stephanie's eyes narrow, and she steps closer, her voice low and venomous. You had no right to do that. I had every right, I snap, my temper flaring. You've been lying to me, cheating on me with that scumbag. And now, you're caught. Stephanie laughs, a bitter, humorless sound. You think this is about Derek? You think he's the problem? You're more naive than I thought, Ben. Her words hit me like a slap, and for a moment, I'm speechless. What are you talking about? I manage to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. She takes a step back, shaking her head. You really don't get it, do you? This was never about Derek. It was about you. About us. Us? I repeat, incredulous. How does screwing another man have anything to do with us? Stephanie's eyes soften, but there's no remorse there, just a cold, calculated resolve. Because, Ben, you were never supposed to find out. Not like this. But I had to make you see what I've been feeling for months. You were so wrapped up in your own life, in your work, that you didn't even notice I was slipping away. I stare at her, trying to process what she's saying. So, you decided to have an affair. To teach me a lesson. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she says, her voice rising with frustration. But then Derek came along, and it just happened. I didn't plan it, but I needed something to wake you up, to make you realize how distant you've become. My blood boils as the pieces start to fall into place. So, this whole thing was some twisted game to get my attention. She doesn't answer, just looks away, her silence confirming my worst fears. And Marco? I ask, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and disbelief. Did you set him up too? Did you plan for him to drag me into this? At the mention of Marco, Stephanie's head snaps back to me, her eyes widening in surprise. Marco? What are you talking about? I step closer, my voice low and dangerous. Don't play dumb, Stephanie. You've been orchestrating this whole thing from the start, haven't you? Getting Marco involved, making sure I'd find out about you and Derek, all so you could what, make me jealous? Make me feel like I was losing you. Ben, I don't know what you're talking about, she says, but her voice wavers, the confidence slipping. Marco has nothing to do with this. This was between you and me. Liar, I spit, the word burning on my tongue. You're lying to me again. You've been lying this whole time. No, she insists, stepping closer, her eyes pleading now. Ben, I swear, Marco isn't involved. I didn't know you even spoke to him. This was my mistake, mine and Derek's. I search her eyes, looking for any sign of deceit, but all I see is fear. Real, genuine fear. And that's when it hits me, Stephanie's telling the truth. At least about Marco. But that means. A sickening realization dawns on me, and I stumble back, my mind reeling. It was Marco, I whisper, the pieces clicking into place. He set this whole thing up. Stephanie's brow furrows in confusion. What are you talking about? I run a hand through my hair, trying to steady myself as the full scope of the betrayal sinks in. Marco knew about you and Derek. He knew everything. He played me, Stephanie. He used me to get to Derek. Her eyes widen as she begins to understand. Marco, he's been after Derek for years. They used to be partners, but they had a falling out. Derek took over their business, cut Marco out completely. He's been trying to get back at him ever since. And I was the perfect pawn, I say bitterly, my voice thick with anger. He knew I'd react, knew I'd go after Derek. All he had to do was wait for me to make a move, then swoop in and finish the job. Stephanie's face pales, and she sinks onto the bed, her hands shaking. Ben, I had no idea. I swear, I didn't know. But her words are empty, meaningless. The truth is out now, and it's uglier than I ever imagined. I've been played, by my wife, by Marco, by Derek. And now, there's nothing left but the ruins of my life, shattered beyond repair. I take a deep breath, trying to hold back the tears that threaten to spill over. We're done, Stephanie, I say, my voice hollow. This, whatever this was, it's over. I'm done. She looks up at me, her eyes filled with despair. Ben, please. No, I cut her off, my voice firm. There's nothing left to say. I can't do this anymore. I can't be with you, knowing what you've done. It's over. I turn to leave, my heart heavy with the weight of the finality of it all. But just as I reach the door, Stephanie calls out to me one last time. Ben, wait. I pause, my hand on the doorknob, but I don't turn around. Goodbye, Stephanie. And with that, I walk out of the room, out of the hotel, out of the life we once shared. The sun is fully up now, the day bright and warm, but I feel nothing but a cold emptiness inside. As I drive away from Sandy Shores, I realize that the man I was before this trip is gone, replaced by someone harder, more cynical, and far less trusting. The person I thought I could be, the life I thought I could have, it was all a lie. And now, all that's left is the road ahead, leading me away from everything I once knew. Marco was right about one thing: revenge is a dangerous game. But it's a game I'm done playing. From now on, I'll walk my path alone, far away from the deceit and betrayal that nearly destroyed me. And as for Stephanie, I know I'll never see her again. The hatred I feel for her, for what she did, will keep us apart forever. We're both broken now, shattered by our own choices, and there's no way to piece us back together. The storm has passed, but the scars it left behind will never fade.